All right, that's your cue. Go.
Welcome to AdSquawk, your weekly deep dive into all things advertising. Grab a drink, pull up a chair. Let's talk shop, guys. How you doing? I'm Sean.
What if I wanted to pull up a stool?
Well, that's actually very acceptable.
Better than pushing in a stool.
I was thinking about poop too when he said stool right away.
Wow. That went sideways fast.
Strong start.
This is Edward.
That's Edward.
This is Danielle.
I'm looking at Danielle.
That's Danielle.
The poop twins.
And I'm Jody. Not to be confused with or associated with poop.
You just set the jokes up.
Yeah, they deliver.
Who else do we have today for a very short time?
I'm Carolyn.
Welcome back.
I'm here only for a moment.
Hey, little Mimi.
Hi, Lala.
My kids bought me a poop emoji pair of socks that I really like.
You like socks.
Yes.
You're
I
a sock guy.
And I just think a poop emoji is funny.
So,
Some housekeeping, actually, to start off the podcast today. First things first, we got our first 5-star review.
Woo! I'm going to start the wave. Ready, go.
How many? 5?
5 stars.
5 stars. Out of how many?
Out of 5.
Out of 5.
Out of 5. 5 out of 5.
It's like out of 7, but
I'm glad you're familiar with the
Well-
format of the rating system.
Well, there's 4-star hotels.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
There's
5-star
there's
restaurants.
1-star
Not very
Michelin.
many.
How many Michelin stars?
1 star is good. 5
backwards
stars
scale.
is not even like,
4 stars if you're a general.
I don't even think they give 5 stars. I think
So
it goes
well
up to like
done.
3.
So well
5
done.
stars.
Anyway, so 5 out of
Who's in
5,
it?
that's good.
So thank
That's
you,
100%.
Sosa,
Who? It's
who
Sosa?
may or may not be my best friend's wife.
Oh,
So,
okay.
shout out to Sos.
Okay.
That counts.
A nepotism.
That's
Hey,
counts.
she doesn't work in advertising, so
Right. Exactly.
Does she
So
learn
it's relevant.
Does she learn anything?
she said it's hilarious and engaging.
Oh, cute.
Aw,
Hi, Sosa.
we love you. Thank you.
You're the engaging part.
And then second piece of housekeeping. Apparently we have a listener in Ireland.
Ireland?
Ireland. We have 4 listens, so I'm assuming it's one person who's listened to 4 episodes. So I'm trying to figure out who it is. So feel free to hit us up on social.
Do you know anybody in
To our
Ireland?
don't.
friend
I have
in
no
Ireland,
idea.
this is my favorite Irish saying, and it goes something like this.
Oh, God.
Everybody, hold on.
Here we
Everybody
go.
get ready.
Never take a gobshite with you. There'll be one where you're going.
Is a gobshite like a dummy?
It's like an asshole, but it's technically a shit mouth, gobshite.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Shit mouth,
okay.
but it's their version of asshole. So
Alright.
don't take an asshole with you, because there'll be one where you're going.
Cool.
I think it's funny
good
that
saying.
It's good advice.
That is
actually.
such good advice.
Because you don't need 2 assholes
That's
wherever you're at.
that's the best client advice I could give any young agency. Is that
Can you say it like a
if
leprechaun?
you can find
We don't want to lose our Irish
clients who
listener.
aren't assholes right from the get go, you'll just do yourself
know
a
how
lot
you
of
did it.
Let us exactly
Kidding.
right yeah.
We have great clients.
Legitimate Irish people don't like leprechauns. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm
We
saying
do.
is
Don't try and be a leprechaun?
Do you remember Tiger Lily?
Well, that's a different story.
I mean, come on.
We have a bunch of conversations
Yeah.
going on.
We do.
What are our segments today?
Well, let's kick it off. So we're getting into our first segment. We're talking about voice acting.
Yeah.
Yo,
I like voice over.
voice over as well. So yeah, we want to just talk about some of our favorite
Because
examples.
voice acting, you say VA, and then people start thinking in like the hospital.
Wait,
and-
is there a difference between voice acting and voice over?
You could get into the
Technically, voice
yes.
over
Yeah.
means it's going over something.
recorded
Right.
voice.
Whereas-
and voice acting would be like people on cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like animation. That's my dream
So
job.
Ryan Reynolds in Detective Pikachu.
You'd be good at that.
That would be my dream
As
job
detective.
to be a voiceover
Or
artist.
who's the guy that Hank Azaria? He's like the
Hank Azaria's awesome.
he's like the voice actor's voice actor, right?
He's been on lots of Simpsons. He's been on all kinds
Yeah,
of things.
everything.
Yeah.
He's Gargamel.
And who's
Oh,
the dude?
that's right.
John C. Who's the dude that's Archer?
Oh, H. John Benjamin.
H. John Benjamin. I love that. Which I hope we get into this because I want to talk later about him and the Arby's ads. So,
Yes.
Oh, that's that guy?
or did we already talk about that on a previous episode?
We've talked about it, but I
I
don't
think
know.
we
if
just talked about it. I don't
Okay.
know.
I do
So,
not
yeah.
recall
Let's
said
put
conversation.
that on the list.
There are people in their cars right now freaking out, like, yeah, you fuckers have talked about that 8 times.
It's
Calm
not
down.
been 8. Not been 8.
We've recorded. By the
This
time
is episode 7, so we haven't talked about it 8 times.
Oh, is this 7?
Yeah.
We might have doubled up one episode, but
Yeah. It's all about efficiency.
How's that ice crunching feel in your ears? Is that nice?
He does that.
Some
ASMR.
nice
Is that a nice
ASMR,
sound
yeah.
effect?
He does that a
Yeah.
lot. He's an ice cruncher.
Well, we're trying to please the ASMR audience.
it's true. We're gonna just have to have separate videos for that.
Yeah, you can hear my beard on the microphone.
Oh, perv. ASMR is so
that doesn't freak you out?
perv.
Hold on, let me turn up the
I
gain.
agree.
You ready for this? Here we go.
Oh.
This is gain. This is my beard.
I think I just won by taking my headphones off because I can't hear it.
Oh God, that's creepy.
That's kind of disgusting. It's a
All
good thing
right,
you're
so
not
let's
on
talk
this
about voiceovers.
Yep.
Who has a favorite actor that they like hearing in?
Well,
advertising.
Sam Elliott
Yeah,
is
Sam,
yeah.
awesome,
The best.
he's great.
right? But there's a whole bunch of amazing voice actors that
Yeah.
people don't know the names of. But he's one of the ones I think is really really good.
Mhm.
Obviously James Earl Jones. He's the classic. He's the voice of God. I think he should be.
He's the blind guy.
Well, I think
in
this
Sandlot.
is an important distinction because
All the
this
great
kind of
God voices are African American. Have you ever noticed that?
James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones.
Samuel Elliott.
Samuel L. Jackson plays a great God.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan
Oh,
Freeman.
Morgan
Freeman.
Morgan Freeman was a tremendous God. I mean, the only white God was what Burns. What was his
George
name?
Burns.
George Burns.
And he had a
And
cigar.
that's nothing compared to those three. I think that we've definitively proven that
Matthew
God is African
McConaughey.
American.
Could he be the voice of God?
Yes,
All
indeed.
right, all right, all right.
I think he needs
He's
some-
more of a Jesus to me.
Yeah.
He
Or
is,
maybe even
absolutely.
or maybe even a John the Baptist. You know, it's like I could
Maybe
see him
later in
dunking
his
people
career.
in the River Jordan. All right, all right, all right.
Honey and Locust again? All right, all right, all right.
He was probably
speaking
the little drummer boy.
Of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
He is the new voiceover guy for Carl's Jr.
Yeah, so that's kind of what stemmed that. So we,
Yeah.
I texted Jody on the way home from work one day at a stoplight, not while driving,
Right.
but I was still in the
We
car.
have a policy against that.
Yeah, well,
Just a reminder.
wasn't in a company car, and it was Friday after 5, so yikes.
you signed it. So
Sorry, put me in the
Just-
room, and I'm gonna get a little more sassy.
Just your
But
signature.
I was listening to the radio, which I normally don't do. I usually just play music or a podcast through my phone. And I heard that commercial, and I immediately had to text Jody, like, yo, what the fuck? Does Matthew McConaughey voice Carl's Jr.
And I was like,
commercials?
no.
And I was like, okay, when I get home, I will have to look into this. And he indeed does.
Yes.
He does. I even have it. Would you like
And
to hear it?
and yeah, I'd like
Want
to
to
hear it.
You ready? All right.
Oh, come here.
It's time to answer the call. The ooze and drips and the smacking lips. Snizzle dizzle. Piggity wiggity buck wild beef busting straight out of the gate, showing his teeth like a flavor stampede. Crispity rings, oh whoa, taking it SLO. With the Western bacon cheeseburger. That's the call of Carl's.
He's good.
He's good. He was so fucking high when he did that.
Yeah.
And to me, I think when I first saw it, I saw it late at night, and I thought their strategy was dead on. It was the same strategy Jack in the Box used. You know who the audience is, and just appeal to it. Appeal to that 30-something male who just got back from the bars or playing Risk with his friends all night, hitting the bong. And sell him some goddamn double bacon cheese Western burgers, for Christ's sakes. Either McConaughey is the smartest motherfucker on the planet or he's the stupidest one. I don't know which.
Luckiest
I
and
honestly
stupid.
don't know.
I'm going to go with smart.
Because the Lincoln
Yeah,
ads.
smart for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
have
how about
you
those?
seen the guy?
But the Lincoln ads.
he probably, I mean, he got
I
paid
mean,
so
those
much
Lincoln
for that. Like,
ads are just.
We'll let that go.
is that bad scripting though?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I think they're
it's
horrible
that
ads.
concept.
But I guarantee you that he's an A-list actor. He gets creative. He gets creative approval
Yeah.
Okay.
on
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things. So I just feel like I don't know.
Actually,
I feel like I loved Matthew McConaughey when he was the lawyer in the John Grisham movie and that kind of. I like that guy, and just I don't know something about the Lincoln ads. It just like
But you don't. I don't think
They're
you.
not fun at all.
You don't. You're not. I don't know. You're above the target.
I probably am not in the target audience.
No, I think you're.
I think it's a
you are.
female target audience.
Yeah.
Probably.
that thinks he's
Enter
sexy.
Matthew McConaughey.
Right.
Yes.
Obviously.
Do you
so.
want a Lincoln?
No, but I'd like.
Well, I will say this. I will say this though. The previous commercials, I don't think
She
did
has
any
been
better.
active on LinkedIn lately.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Is it an improvement from what they were doing before though?
I don't remember what they were
Lincoln?
doing before, so
Bingo.
boom.
Wasn't
Oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, the ads are memorable. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can
Here
tell
we
you
are
what the car
talking
looks
about
like.
it.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Like I said, I don't know whether he's the smartest guy in the world or the dumbest.
I'm
I
gonna
did
go with the
get
smart side of the coin.
I did lose a bet once because I chickened out from pushing him in a pool. It's my Matthew McConaughey.
Probably
moment.
tell that story now.
Yeah.
Oh no, I couldn't possibly tell that story.
Were you there, Karen?
And
I'm
bait
not gonna
set.
tell the story.
Hook is set. Now you go ahead. You might as well.
I was saying earlier that Twitter is like the platform for that right there. I'm gonna give you a little nugget. Ask me more.
Right.
So I will use this as a segue. So story, right? I think story is one of the biggest things about good voiceover work is getting the voice talent to understand the story that you're trying to tell, right? What are you trying to communicate versus what are the words you're trying to read?
So it starts with the writing.
It starts with the reading or starts with the writing, great writing. But if you have great writing but a crappy voiceover artist, they'll read what you wrote. And it
Yeah.
sounds like it's being read.
But I prefer a creative process that takes it absolutely backwards from that. I write in the voice that I want.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So if I'm writing an ad and I want it to sound like Hal Riney, I know exactly what that sounds like in my head, and so we can go get voice talent that can do that. Right, or go get Hal Riney if he wasn't
That would
deceased.
be difficult to do.
But I think that big brand directors have that luxury. So I'm fairly confident that whoever wrote the Mercedes-Benz ad had John Hamm
In mind.
and said, when they pitched it, they said, imagine John Hamm reading the
Right.
following.
I would
and then
agree with
they
that.
sold that as part of the. So in the best case scenario, that's how your voice actor selected, is that it's already in the. And that's what I love about the idea of talking about voice actors, because I think they're sort of unsung heroes in the whole business, but they're starting to get more notoriety. I don't know that if I had this discussion in an agency 20 years ago with a media person and an ops person and a production person, whether we would have 10 or 15 voice, really good voice actors that we could name off top of our head like we can today. So I think that's because of adult cartoons and cable networks that ran Cartoon Network and Adult Swim and stuff like that, and became part of the culture. And now millennials are going up into the workplace and they know who these people are. And I think it's cool. I think it's a really cool time to be in the business of making television creative and internet creative and that sort of stuff, because there's just so many tools at your fingertips now.
So I would agree with what you're saying. That when I'm writing, I hear it in my head. When I'm directing the production session, I hear it in my head. When I'm directing, even when I've directed you, and it drives you crazy because
it does, because I'm usually the one that wrote the spot.
Exactly.
So I hear it in my head, and then you're telling me to do it the way you want it done. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I wrote the fucking thing.
Well, I'm saying if you didn't write it, if I wrote it.
Another chapter in the saga of Ed
and that's
and
true.
Jody.
But that's the beauty of it,
yeah,
right?
it is.
And there's got to be one director in the room. If there's more than one director, then you bump heads, right?
But have I ever left you wanting?
Again,
dot.
Only for a story.
Only for a story. But so let me get back around to that. So the idea of communicating the story, like what are you trying to say versus what are you saying? Right? What he's talking about is he hears it and he writes according to that, right? And there's a lot of times where you aren't able to get amazing A-list talent and you're trying to get somebody to sound incredible and they don't have necessarily the chops to do that. They're reading a script. So I just came out of a session literally 30 minutes ago where I've got a 19
Work hard, play hard, baby.
Yeah, I've got a 19-year-old skater kid that's delivering this line. He's never done voice work in his life. And
he's also 16.
He's 16, whatever.
Yeah.
He's 16 years old. Thank you for the correction.
You're welcome.
And he still has never done voice work in his life. Anyways, trying to coach him and get him to not read the words, but to tell me the story of what are you trying to say and how would you say it in the real world? I think there's a lot of times where some copywriters, not Edward, they write it to where it looks good written, but when you try and deliver that in the spoken word, it doesn't translate.
That's why you got to read it out loud to yourself.
Yeah, and
while you're
even
writing.
even reading it out loud isn't performing it. And so one of the things, if I were to boil down who I think the best voiceover artists are, it's somebody who understands how to tell a good story, and it's somebody who understands the mechanisms of music theory, right? Tempo,
Okay.
time, and dynamics.
Gene fucking Hackman.
Gene, exactly. And
That guy.
it's a really, really big deal. When you get somebody that understands those things, it's amazing to be in a session with them. So Scott Glenn.
He was on a. He was.
He's been in a ton of
He
movies.
was the astronaut in what Apollo. What the right stuff?
He was in
he was John
Fugitive.
Glenn. He was John Glenn, and no, he was. Who was he? He was in the right stuff.
Anyway, he's a great actor.
And
right?
there was a fire. Wasn't there a? He's a great actor. Sorry.
Yes, he is a great actor. Watching him do voice work is amazing.
Bye,
right?
Carolyn. Say
Are
bye.
you leaving?
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Oh.
I know it's riveting, and I know you're gonna play something good, and I'm sad to miss
Wasn't
it.
he in a movie about firemen or Backdraft?
Yeah, he was in
He was
Backdraft.
Backdraft. There we go.
Anyway,
Bye, CJ.
watching him do a voiceover session and watching that talent was something that was really, really impressive. So those to me, if I'm going to hire somebody, I want to make sure that the instrument, the voice, right, is the range that I want to find, whether it's a kid or if I'm looking for the gruffy voice, if I'm looking for kind of maybe the nerd voice that's holding a clipboard and has glasses. Like I want to find the instrument, and then having them understand all that stuff is a really, really big deal. And it makes them directable. Just dropped my phone.
Yeah. Is it? Have you gotten into a situation where you've either had to rewrite a spot based on the talent that you got because it didn't align originally with what you had in mind, or is it easier to then just find a different voice actor?
I've done both.
You've done both.
Yeah, and I also, this isn't super popular specifically with our accounting folks. I hold script with an open hand when I get into a production session, because 99 times out of 100 we can make a couple changes that make this better. And I mean, Eddie and I have been in sessions where, no, let's do it this way. No, let's do it this way. Oh, how about this? Yeah, that's it. And it's being able to work that makes a huge difference. And it's a collaborative effort. So it's a big deal. So I have an illustration for what I think is somebody who uses tempo and
Is it Gene Hackman?
it is not Gene Hackman, but you will love this.
Is it me?
It is not you.
Oh no.
But this is a famous voiceover. Are you ready?
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then painting from tractor back put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales, yet gentle enough to yean lambs and wean pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets, who will stop his mower for an hour to splint the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing. Who would laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when his son says that he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer.
So good. His tempo, the way he's sped up certain sections, the way he's slowed down other sections, the way he drew you in and he gets excited and he talks about all these things and he goes faster and faster and faster, and then he slows things down and it gets real intimate about something so special.
You're doing that right now.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's He's storytelling.
Sorry, I don't know who that was.
Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey.
Thank you.
That is a classic
What spot is
voiceover.
that? And I don't know that spot
So
either.
it actually never started as a spot. It was just a voiceover that he did a long time ago.
Well, no, that was a speech
Yeah.
to the Future Farmers of America convention. So that was recorded live in a giant stadium, and then Dodge. I wish I knew what. Will you look up the agency on that?
Yep.
Because I think we should give them credit. Dodge Trucks did a Super Bowl ad, and if you think about where Dodge sits in the kind of the positioning of trucks between Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, Dodge is kind of a third option, and is not got a reputation of being kind of the farmer's truck or the rancher's truck. Either Ford or Chevy generally have that title. So I think that the strategy was just dead on. It's like, we're going to go own this. And then somebody, I assume, I don't know if they had this in mind when they pitched it or how it came about, but somebody found this archival speech from Paul Harvey to the Future Farmers of America, and they put it over black and white photography, and then they just had a
So
still
good.
shot
Yeah.
of the truck at the end.
Yeah.
And Dodge, I mean, it was just, I think it's one of the better ads of a decade.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The Richards Group.
Richards Group.
Ah.
Yep.
Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
Independent agency.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. The Richards Group. Wow, that's great.
All right, I got one more.
Of an example of
Yep.
the dopeness?
This is an actor. I want you to see if you can pick out the
Ooh, I
actor.
love this game.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Everyone, shut up.
Can a car be crafted instead of produced? Designed with attention and care to give a feeling that stays with you. At Mazda, every detail matters because driving matters. The all-new 3-row Mazda CX-9.
Okay, now
I am so close.
I will
I've
give
heard
you
that spot before.
I'll give you a hint. Here's the hint. This might be a little bit of somebody messing with the VO. You ready?
Can a car be crafted instead of produced? Designed with attention
yeah.
and care
Benardak Cumbervich, or whatever his name is.
It's the guy
that
from
stays with you.
Breaking Bad.
Keep
At
listening.
Mazda, every detail matters because driving matters. The all-new 3-row
Jody, did you do
Mazda
this?
CX-9.
What is his name?
So Aaron Paul.
Thank
So
you.
Paul.
I
Yep.
never would have guessed that without
From-
that.
No.
that's one of those examples of you've got an actor
He did well.
that played
Yeah.
a really interesting character on Breaking Bad, and of course there's people that love the character of
The
Jesse
character.
Pinkman, right? They love him, and they're stealing little snippets out of Breaking Bad and throwing it into a Mazda commercial, right? Which is hilarious, but it does beg a question: when you're choosing one of those voiceover talents, is that potentially an issue if said voiceover talent is politically active or does something stupid or comes from a certain
Yeah.
type of whatever?
So I see your point, but I do
Depends
think
on
that's
if they're an endorser or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that's different than taking lines from a character he's played because
Right.
those aren't
Oh,
his
yeah.
words. But I absolutely understand your point. Yeah.
Well, I think in the case of somebody like Aaron Paul, this was his breakthrough role, his first role, and he's done some things since. But he's, he's at the point of his career, that I don't know, Clint Eastwood was after the spaghetti westerns, right? So, he's typecast as that's the guy. But I think that there's actors. So his acting partner, Bryan Cranston, on that show, is doing some amazing ads.
He's done some good stuff.
For Ford right now, Ford trucks. Well, it's for Ford Motor Company. Image ads that are just fantastic. And he's actually doing more than just voiceover. He's actually acting in the ads, and he's not even really acting as he's not endorsing. He's not. I'm Bryan Cranston. He's playing a character, playing multiple characters. And it's really, really good.
And both of them super talented actors.
Right.
Foundation.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that all voiceover people are actors.
Yeah, they have to be.
In fact, before this segment, I was watching out of what was the name of that show Art and
Without headphones.
Art and copy.
Art and Copy, and until Danielle made me turn it off because it was bugging her while she was texting or something.
I wasn't even
But-
texting.
Anyway, I was listening to Hal Riney, and he's my ultimate like hero from a standpoint of not only did he write and create tremendous advertising, but then he was the voice of a lot of it, and he was a tremendous voice. And as I watched him being interviewed in Art and Copy for this documentary, it struck me how great he was on camera.
Mm-hmm.
And bottom line is, if you're good at voiceover, it's because you're a good actor. And I think that's why it translates back and forth. And, you know, the difference between being an announcer's voice that can just do this
Right.
and being a voice actor is the word actor. And I just love seeing that. And it's interesting when you see like the Hank Azarias of the world. We talked about him off air earlier. I mean, it just
Frank Oz is another. I mean, he
Yeah.
had a ton of many voices. He
absolutely,
did. Yes.
absolutely.
So I'm going to throw a curveball at you though.
Do we get to guess again?
No, you don't get to guess, but I'm going to say this. There are certain instances where I do not want a voice actor. I do not want an announcer. I want the real story as spoken by someone that is telling their story. There's ownership of that. When you're doing a testimonial, not a scripted testimonial. My philosophy on testimonials is, that's an awesome script, throw it away, tell me your story. And after about 30 to 45 minutes, I get through all the BS of what they think I want to hear, and they get into the good stuff, right? So this is, I want to play something for you. I'm not even going to set this up. I just want you to close your eyes and picture this young woman.
A very nice day for San Francisco because we had a lot of fog, and it was a clear, wonderful day that day. I dressed special for this date in a little dress that had purple flowers on it, something that I thought he liked, and I just wanted to look nice for him that day. After we'd cleaned the dishes from dinner, and sat on the sofa. There was no TV in those days. We just had the radio. And he put his arms around me, and we cuddled close. And he asked the question that I had been waiting so long to hear. Will you marry me? I want you to be my wife forever. And, of course, I kissed him and said, yes.
So that story,
That was
right?
sweet.
Painting the picture of the memory of this woman. This is a story from 1944, and she can
That was
remember the
recorded?
details.
Oh, okay.
So this is
It took place in 44. but
that
was
is my
recorded.
grandmother telling the
Do I
story.
hear music in the background? Are you like playing angel music?
No,
as you're...
that was the next one.
Oh, okay.
So
He's doing all sorts of radio guy tricks over here.
Production
He's got piano. This is my grandmother. He's auditioning.
I'm auditioning
He's
now.
auditioning for voice work right now.
But here's the thing. There was a story. She was able to
sly
capture all the details of this day. She remembered what dress she was wearing. She remembered the weather. The point of this is it's her story. And she goes on to talk about how he asked to marry her, and it was all about this wedding ring. And she goes, there's a whole long story. That was just a snippet of
Yeah.
it. And it was absolutely priceless to hear this story of her, and it's genuine. And you talk about, without being commercialized, the idea of buying a wedding ring and what a big deal that is.
Yeah.
And that there are a few days in your entire life that you remember, like the day that you get married, like the day that the veil comes up and he puts the ring on the finger. That there's the emotion, the story of that. There's voice acting, and then there's the real deal.
So
So what next do you have from your reel that you're
Wait.
going to play us?
That's all I got on my
I have a question though. So if you have someone coming into the studio to do something that is like a testimonial, do you do any coaching, or do you let them speak and use their natural inflection as they so choose?
I let them speak. And it really is. It's 45 minutes in before I get to the good stuff. And it's funny because the conversation kind of gets to this lull. And then it's most of the time they'll be like, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, this was awesome. And it turns into, rather than a testimonial, it turns into somebody being present during a conversation. And that's the good stuff, right? That's when you hear the real story of how they felt, right? And what those emotions were. And that's what I'm talking about voiceover and capturing the inflection of story, that pace, the tempo, the tone. What are those words doing and why? And picking that stuff apart. And as a director, understanding how that stuff works. And if they're not getting it, how do I get them in a mental mindset to get them there, right? So I love working with women because they're so emotive, right? You can get a woman to think about.
Thin ice here. Thin ice.
This is good.
You know who you're talking to right now.
This is
no generalizations. This is a no generalization zone.
I prefer
He's
to
being
work.
complimentary.
Yeah,
So.
I prefer to work.
You're so emotive.
I'm
No,
a
I
Cancer.
love
All you have to do is change that word to emotional. Now say it. Now say it. Now say it. No, I dare you. Say it. You're so emotional.
Complex.
And I'm complex.
Here's what I would say. Women are like a grand piano.
Yeah,
There's
they
a
are.
lot of keys.
Beautiful keys.
Men are kind of like trumpets.
Yeah, annoying.
We're simple, and that's not necessarily good or bad. It just is. But understanding that I can get somebody to picture themselves in this emotive role as they walk in the door, being the center of attention, and getting that presence to transfer on a voiceover. So the skateboarding kid that we worked with, you just hit a sick trick, dude. Sick, right? How do you feel when you tell me this line? Say it with some confidence. Don't draw back. Be confident with it.
Say it with your
First
chest.
off, we don't use the word sick
They
anymore.
use sick. They do.
I say
okay.
sick,
Yeah.
but
Anyway.
I'm not a youth. I guess.
So I
Rip in the chat.
I totally geek out on voice work, and I love seeing how you can coach and how you can direct a voiceover.
What are the 3 top coaching / directive phrases you have to tell people?
Smile.
Smile when you say it.
Yeah, smile when you say it, and use your hands. Hands are reflective. So there's three I call it 3 modes of the hands, right? There's this, they're facing each other.
They're right
and
at
you're
chest area.
talking about something that's factual. I'm giving you directions, or I'm talking about there's a formality, but the pace is fairly the same. Could be directions, it could be how to do something, could be anything like that. Now, I'm not really sure about the other part of it. When I do this, my intonation will go up. I'm not really sure. It's a question. I don't know where I'm going.
He's raising his
Right,
shoulders.
I'm raising
and
my
kind of like a
shoulders. My
shrug.
eyebrows go up. I coach facial expressions. I coach where you're leaning, if you're leaning forward or if you're leaning back. And then the other thing is this palm right here. Everything speeds up, and I'm addressing the audience, and it's exciting. This is like salt in the soup. I don't use this very much because if it's too much, it's too much. But if I use all 3 of those things.
And how can our listeners find you on your website?
This is what I absolutely love. If you pick apart what I love in my profession, right? This is at the top of the list. I absolutely
Paying
love
him way too much. I knew you liked it this much.
No, it's awesome. I love it.
Ed brings up a fairly good point because I get in like new business inquiries a lot, and then people who want to partner with us, and a lot of the time it's VO talent.
Right.
They put themselves out there a lot, and
They have to.
they have to.
Yeah.
Or else
Oh,
there's no exposure.
Yeah, there's no exposure. So think about it this way. I'm going to go to the first best right answer. There's a whole bunch of right answers out there, but it's all about its proximity. I prefer to have somebody come into my studio because I can direct them better when I'm watching them react to how I direct. I'm watching their body language.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of elements to that I prefer, rather than having somebody send me a dry read that's perfect on time, and it's the voice that they hear in their head, which if Eddie voices something, but I'm trying to direct it, he's going to do it according to the voice in his head, which may not be the way that I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
2 right answers.
No, the right answer is whoever wrote the spot.
Yes.
Do you think you'd have a different reaction?
Is it whoever wrote the movie? Is whoever
Well-
directed the movie?
That's an interesting question. I think there's overlap.
Depends on if it's an original screenplay or if it's
an adapted?
an
screenplay?
adapted screenplay. Because if it's an adapted screenplay, I feel like you've got
That's
a
another
collaboration between
layer.
the original
Yeah.
author, the adaptation, and then the director.
Yep.
Right? If it's an original screenplay, I think that it's purely a partnership between the author and the director. In the
But
best,
still a
in the
partnership.
best, I think it is a partnership.
Okay.
I think that the director has the final say. That's why they're called the director.
Yeah.
Because the author is getting paid money. That's their compensation. But I think that any good production the director and the author are working together.
Yep.
And so, but I think that, well, I guess in our case, I'm used to being the director and the author.
Right. Which
So
that's me
I'm
too.
kind of a dick when
You wear many hats. Let's
when
just
I-
put it that way.
But and I'll actually pay Edward
That
a
was
really big
kind of you,
compliment.
Sean.
I would rather go into a session with somebody that knows what they want and will argue with me about it, rather than having somebody that'll let me run right over them.
Yeah.
Because he and I are both very similar in terms of strong
Unless they're
personalities.
stupid. I mean,
Well-
sometimes you get the stupid VO guy who's
Yeah.
like telling you,
That's a
"Oh, I think
terrible
I would do it this
combination.
way," and you're like, "No."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's times as a director,
there's only one director here.
there's
It's
times
me.
where you have to say, I understand what you're saying. No.
You're wrong.
do it this way, please and thank you, and trust me on this.
You're literally
and
the
I've-
dumbest person I've ever met.
I've had a guy that did that fairly recently, and when I sent him the finished product, he was like, "Oh, okay," because he didn't see it because he couldn't see it. He was just doing the voice work. In my head, I could hear it how everything came together.
Do you try to give them the context
All the time, yeah.
as much as you can?
As much as I want to paint mental
Yeah, it's
pictures in their
magic.
head.
People don't get it.
Yeah, it's unless you've been in a VO session,
Which
like,
I have.
it's hard.
Hello.
That's all of advertising. No,
Yeah,
I
there's-
saw a quote the other day about graphic designers. I think I retweeted it, but somebody said something about I just am
What's your handle, Eddie?
amazed at Eddie Moore II. At Eddie Moore II, which stands for the second, yes. But it said something to the effect of just I am amazed by the graphic designers and their ability to take something from their brain and transcribe it onto paper. It really truly is. If you watch, our illustrator Kelly draw, it's just amazing.
They know K-Dog.
to watch.
It's so cool.
Just as people who understand Sean's job and the media and the intricacies of that. The thing is that this whole business is built upon people's brains and the inherent talent they have to understand human beings and do what we do.
Yeah.
And so it's magic. It honestly is. And I tell clients that sometimes, and they look at me like, fuck you. You're telling me you want me to pay you to be my magician. And
Where's your top hat, buddy?
If you make me define how any of us can do our jobs, it truly is just something that was a chromosome or a DNA strand or I don't know what, or God-given, I don't know, depending on your perspective, I guess, that people have. And then maybe you go to school and you refine it and you discover it, and then you get some experience and you hone it. And man, it's so fun to watch ad people do their thing. I was with 3 judges last night for an awards competition, and I was in charge of kind of telling them the rules and making sure they know how to judge everything and yada yada. And we had dinner, and it was just fascinating watching these three professionals sort of start a dance together because they're going to be with each other all weekend. And it's like, okay, who's going to kind of trot out some resume items first, and then who's going to be the real one, and who's going to be the kind of the one that's been there, done that. And it was just fascinating. The characters and the people that we have in this business are crazy. I don't know. That had nothing to do with voiceover, but
it's all related though.
Yeah, it is.
And honestly, it's the highest level of creativity. It's the highest level of voice work. It's the highest level of directing a TV ad or even a short film or the media buy or, I mean, it really is the highest level of all creativity, all coming under one roof. It's fun.
in honor of this segment, I'm going to lower my voice half a register.
I need to do something as well.
Whoa.
Oh.
What are you,
For Mel.
wait, what are you gonna?
Oh,
do?
what's Mel going to do?
Mel,
Oh.
Mel requested some ASMR.
What?
So I have.
Oh,
this.
okay. Hold on. Let me.
This is
Okay,
the test
hold on.
bed
Shh.
for our breakout
Okay, here we
channel.
go.
All right, I'm gonna hold on. Let me see.
Hold on.
All right, I have a. All right, go ahead.
Would anyone like some chips?
Go ahead and take a
I
bite
think
of
you
that
should
chip.
take a bite of it.
Yeah.
Here,
right
I'll
up,
try one.
right up on there.
Ed and I are eating Jimmy John's jalapeno chips.
Jimmy John's. Freaky fast.
It was under 10 minutes delivered, and it was free fast.
Who did was it the Michelob ad?
Zoe Kravitz.
Yes.
My
was-
girlfriend. I love her.
She was
Is
awesome.
she Lenny's daughter?
Yes. And Lisa Bonet.
One of my favorite. Oh, Lisa Bonet.
Yeah, no,
was
she-
so hot. She probably still is.
100%.
I have that.
She's dating Jason Momoa, or they might be married. She's dating
I think they're-
Jason
the big
Momoa.
Aquaman.
Oh,
Yeah,
the big. Oh, the
thank
big.
you.
Captain
They're married.
Aquaman.
I think they've been married for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorgina. Brought you
Man,
back. Brought you
yeah.
back.
High
Brought me
Fidelity.
back. But one of my favorite comedy sketches, I can't. I wish I knew the comedian that did it, but he was talking about what a drag it'd be to be Lenny Kravitz. It's like, you know, you wake up on a Saturday, you just want to walk down to the 7-Eleven and get a cup of Joe, but you got to put on your beads and your bracelets and your chaps, and you got to like stick a comb in your hair,
That's Johnny
put
Depp,
some
too.
eyeliner on.
You
Look
have to
how
wear
beautiful.
a gigantic scarf.
The cost. Oh, the cost.
I'll stop eating chips now that I just want to keep eating
Yeah,
chips.
oh, yeah.
Do you guys want one though?
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm good.
Jalapeno.
This concludes our
Lisa
ASMR
Bonet,
segment.
man, she just.
She's all right.
What was that movie where with Robert De Niro and it was a big angel heart? That was creepy, but it was
I don't know that movie.
yeah.
I don't
Sorry.
either.
Or else I'd chime in.
I don't know. All right.
Yep.
That concludes that segment.
Kind of. Follow-up question, I guess.
Oh, what?
Oh God,
It's on here. If you could work with any celebrity talent, who would you pick?
Sam Elliott.
Dead or alive?
Sure.
Oh.
Oh, that changes things.
And who'd you say?
Sam Elliott.
Oh, Sam Elliott. I thought you said Jim Elliott, and I'm like, who's Jim? Sam Elliott.
I just love.
You know, he's a great voice, but it's the same thing all the time. I mean,
Yeah, but I just-
It depends on the
goddamn
spot,
it.
right?
I can't believe I totally just criticized Sam
Blasphemy?
Elliott, which is bullshit.
You
Sorry.
asshole.
Yeah, that's not.
Sam Elliott, he is, but maybe a character actor. Hank Azaria would be pretty awesome, or maybe Frank Oz.
I think, were we supposed to pick like a traditional?
No.
Okay.
Anyone.
So my choices are, I have her pulled up in case people don't.
While you do that, you know who I've met? I've met Bill Faberbaki.
You have?
I played golf with him, and he's the voice of Patrick Starfish on SpongeBob SquarePants.
SpongeBob.
Patrick Star.
And he was Patrick Star. Yes,
Fish.
sorry.
I got your back.
And he was also Dauber on Coach, which is
Oh, really?
too old
Yeah,
for you
yeah,
guys
yeah.
probably. Anyway,
Forgot about Coach.
he's a University of Idaho
Is he still
Vandal.
doing voice work? Is he on
Well, I think isn't SpongeBob
Gravity
still
Fa-
going?
is he on
I know the
Gravity-
guy that did SpongeBob.
Gravity
died.
Falls?
Yeah,
he's
he
on
did
Gravity
recently.
Falls.
Is he on Gravity Falls?
okay.
I think so.
Is he the uncle or something?
No, he's the dumb
People
guy.
are-
Isn't that over now?
he's
Yeah.
Is he the dumb guy?
I was thinking Gravity Falls was over.
Well, there's still. I can still watch it.
Yeah, my son just streams it.
Who's
I
your
like Gravity
choice?
Falls.
To work, or did we decide it was Dead or Alive?
Yeah, do Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive.
Well, for me, because I run an agency, it'd be Hal Riney because I'd get to.
You get to hang out.
Yeah.
His voice. Oh my gosh, how much did he smoke and drink?
He smoked a lot, and I think he drank a lot too.
Like his register is like 2 octaves lower than mine. Insane. And like you could hear him from across the street. It's so low.
I have one male and one female.
Oh, way to be diverse.
Female is Jenny Slate. Do you guys know who she is?
Jenny.
I pulled up her IMDb, but I'm familiar.
Slate.
I became familiar with her through Parks and Rec. She played
Oh.
Mona Lisa Saperstein.
Oh yeah.
I find her voice is
John
unique, and
Ralphio's
she's fun.
sister.
Yeah. The worst in the world, and I like her. And then my male choice is Snoop D-O-double-G.
Snoop Dogg.
Like as a voiceover guy?
Have you ever heard him narrate
it'd
the
be great.
nature videos?
That's fucking hilarious. and
Yeah,
have you seen
He's
seen
smooth.
his ads for the erectile dysfunction? I'm not saying
Not me.
I'm not. Yeah. In case the shit don't work. I mean, it don't happen to me.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But
I think
God,
it's for
I
him.
love Snoop Dogg.
But I will say this: you know exactly what you're gonna get.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep. And you know the
Snoop
target.
D-O-double-G. Sorry, I was also listening to like throwback
So much
90s,
drama in
2000s hip hop.
LBC.
Yeah.
Just saying.
How about you?
Singing that whole
You know, I mean, after seeing the recent trailer for Detective Pikachu, and Ryan Reynolds is just like
Oh,
He's
yeah.
pretty damn.
well, like, and the stuff he did for
He is
Deadpool,
good.
like the ads that they ran for Deadpool specifically, like obviously he was Deadpool, but
Wait, what?
he's got I just think it'd be really good. And then kind of on a different tangent. So there's
Well, all of a sudden everyone gets 2 because I want another one. if
Yeah, I
that's
want
gonna
another
be
You
one.
guys
We'll
can
circle
have
back.
one. There are
Circle
no
back.
rules. So sensitive. I'm the sensitive
in the
one.
gaming space, there
Finish
tends
it.
to be voice actors who kind of come in and get really popular, and they do like every major AAA title for like 2 or 3 years, and then kind of
In a
it's-
land
it's-
before time.
it cycles. But Troy Baker was one who was in he did voicing for The Last of Us. He was in, I believe, BioShock Infinite, and he just did a ton of these like huge video games, and was like one of the most famous.
I will say one of the guys I would love to work with, B. Coop.
Oh, yeah.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
He would be amazing to
I
work
like
with.
that you point.
B Coop.
That's
That's because I say that.
That's what she calls him.
You call him B
yeah,
Coop.
he's
Bradley
making fun
Cooper.
of me. It was a nod to Dan.
So him is the voice of Rocket in the
Yeah.
Avengers.
Oh, yeah, he did-
He's so good.
And he like kind of changed the way he spoke because like that's
He
not
totally
normal
did.
B Coop.
Owen
What about-
Wilson
what
would be
about
fun
Vin
to hang
Diesel?
out with too.
Yeah.
As
Vin
Groot.
Diesel's
And John Hamm.
How many ways can you say I am Groot?
How about Steve Carroll?
Okay, so it's
Carell?
Carell, one.
Or sorry,
but
Steve
is it,
Carell.
Are you
How
trying
about
to,
Steve Carroll?
How about Pete Carroll?
are you picking
Great
people for the
voiceover.
hangout, or
Huh?
are you picking people for the hangout or for their voice?
Well, all of them. These are all great voices, with the exception of Pete Carroll.
No, he's not.
All of these are great voices,
Benedict
but they're all great.
Cumberbatch.
Does he have a good voice?
I think he's
Him-
overrated.
no, in-
I'm not a big.
In The Hobbit as the voice of Smaug the dragon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He did that? I didn't know that.
Amazing.
I did not know that.
I haven't seen The Hobbit yet, so don't ruin it for me.
I love The Hobbit.
Spoiler alert, it's not very good.
I love Middle Earth. I love Middle Earth. Hobbits unite.
And then this is a question specifically for Ed.
Sure, let's tailor this one to Ed. Let's give him more mic time.
Right? If you could pick your favorite H. John Benjamin character,
Oh.
I don't
would
even
it
know
be?
who that is, so I guess this.
that's
Well,
why I said this is
yeah.
tailored for
I
Ed.
know. I just gotta.
I mean, that's
It's not as
easy.
clear cut as you would think.
Yeah.
I know.
He's done a lot of cartoons.
He has done a lot of cartoons, but I don't know. I saw Archer at the right time in my life. I don't know. It just that.
That's the one he's
that-
most known for.
And it just the whole it's a show that my wife and I
He doesn't
watched
look like he
together from the beginning, and we have so many things that we say that come from that show.
We're still doing phrasing.
And so I would say Archer, but I will say this, that the whole him starring in the Arby's ads, I don't know. I knew what he looked like, so it wasn't like I thought that H. John Benjamin looks like Archer.
I'm not familiar with these Arby's ads. Can you give a quick?
So
synopsis?
there's in the latest Arby's ads, he plays like a chef character, but it's clearly that he's a funny actor playing a chef character. So it's not like it's the real chef, but they're introducing him as their executive chef kind of thing. And he talks about the meats and the sandwiches and the why wouldn't you? And he does it in his very unique style and delivery. And he's a perfectly fine actor, and everything's great. It's just that I was like, oh man, I didn't want that particular curtain to be pulled back, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just like listening to his voice, and it kind of spoiled it for me.
Other acceptable answers would have been Coach McGurk from Home Movies,
Yes.
which was the original,
Acceptable answer.
or Bob from Bob's Burgers.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he Bob from Bob?
He's Bob.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you hate Gilbert Godfrey's voice?
Oh, it's so bad.
Did
It
you
is,
guys-
but
I mean, it's iconic,
It's
but
been
it's-
used
it's
in some of the
distinct.
best ways, like when he played the parrot on
Perfect.
Iago.
Diago.
Iago.
Iago.
Got you right.
Yeah, thank you.
Wait, shit! I had something.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
I am so not
Bobcat.
surprised.
Oh, yeah.
dying
Different.
Different
of a
for
heart
sure.
attack from not surprised.
Did you guys know that Mila Kunis is Meg in Family Guy? Oh yeah. Did you guys know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, she's Meg.
And she's hot.
Shut up,
She's
Meg.
gorgeous. Yeah,
She
shut the fuck
is.
up, Meg.
She's all right.
She's hot.
I think that officially concludes the section on
She's
voiceover.
no Danielle
That does.
Hannon.
Yeah.
She's Mila Kunis.
You want me to do my best
She
Yoda
is.
impression?
Yes.
Over we are with this section.
Hi, this is Edward. I can't come to the phone right now. If it's urgent, please dial 0 and talk to Mila. Awesome would that be?
That would be iconic.
Yes, we should work on that. I love it.
So our next segment, Circling Crows. So we're talking the price of privacy. There was one story that actually really sparked this for me. So Facebook announced that they are actually rolling out their Clear History tool that is going to essentially allow individuals to clear out all of their previous pages that they've liked or brands that they've engaged
So
with.
all that stuff doesn't count when people are retargeting.
Exactly. Yeah.
So why
they're-
don't we name this segment Counting Crows?
Counting crows. I like it.
I went a long ways for that joke. Continue.
Vultures. But then there was, in the meantime, 2 other stories kind of broke this week, and I feel like they all tie into the greater conversation around personal privacy when it comes to data. One was being YouTube yesterday announced that they're once again redoing their policies for children's content.
They're taking the comments completely off, right?
Oh, they are?
because people, like, videos were getting docked and like demonetized because people were using the comment section that weren't even the
right.
Post,
Be
pedophiles.
nasty predators. Yeah. That sucks.
And who cares? None of the kids are watching these videos for the commenting anyway.
No.
Yeah,
So-
but
Why do we need
It's
to
an
comment?
engagement metric that YouTube uses to measure.
I think we should turn the comments off on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook as well.
That's the whole point.
curmudgeon moment was brought to you by
Exactly.
Edward Moore.
So all you can do,
No.
all you can do is post what you did, and nobody can say shit about it.
If no one comments a heart eye emoji under something I post on Instagram, then
Then you delete it.
like I'm an ugly piece of shit.
Post that emoji. That's
I
it.
have to get validation
we're
from
all,
myself.
We're all commenting
Is that what
in
you're
our
telling me?
hearts.
So you guys will text me like, "Hey, that was a really great picture." I'm like, "Thanks."
Yeah, exactly. Let's go back to
Start a
those
fucking
good old
conversation
days.
is what we'll do.
Yeah.
And then the other
That
thing.
makes it way more perf.
Yeah. The other story that came out was TikTok's being penalized $5.7 million by the FTC for violation over child privacy laws. And I did a little more digging into this. Apparently, like, when you first signed up for that, back before it was TikTok and it was Musical.ly, which if you're not familiar, you can make like
It's
little music
so much
videos
fun.
and dub over stuff.
Of course, Jody
So
loves
much fun.
Musical.ly.
But apparently, so when you created your account, they didn't ask, or they asked a bunch of information. They didn't verify your age, and they had location turned on so you could find users near you. And so, like, of their top 50 users at one point, like 20 of them were 13 or under. And you could just go find users near me, and it would show you the geolocation.
Wow.
Dangerous.
It was just very poorly thought out. So they've completely revamped that.
As a dad of
So mad.
No, not so mad. As a dad of a now 14-year-old that was on Musical.ly a ton and had a lot of followers. Like, she was really good at it. Good.
Brag about it.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that they eliminated that, because that
Yeah.
was that we actually had a talk with her and we're like, listen, you back off on that.
Yeah. So from a privacy standpoint, I mean, obviously the Facebook conversation more plays into everyone. But there's, I think that, TikTok and even YouTube, when it's aiming stuff at their, kids' content, it's still a greater conversation around privacy on the internet. And if you kind of sacrifice one for the ability as an advertiser to target on the other end, I think that it's necessary changes across the board.
But at work, you're like, this kind of.
Well,
kinda
it doesn't. But I've had this conversation with clients before. You should never be the first one to jump on the bandwagon
Right.
of any platform until you kind of understand. Because usually either costs are extremely, like, way too high, like they were with Snapchat, where you're spending $250,000 to get in the door. You can't target. You can't get reporting. Blah blah blah. And then on the other side, if it's not quite there yet, maybe the user base isn't there. So why are you paying? So don't be the earliest adopter, but be an early adopter. I mean, once you've had a chance to
Do your
work with
homework.
someone who can bet exactly.
Do your homework.
Understand.
Or have you do the homework.
Yes. Well, that's why we're here. Does this guy like scare the shit out of you? In terms of social?
I just think it's every new media frontier is the Wild West at first, just as the Wild West was the Wild West. People thought it was a great idea to kill all the buffaloes and then graze the shit out of all that green grass, and then eventually figured out, oh, guess what? If we eat all the fucking grass, it doesn't grow back fast enough, and our cows fucking die. And by the way, we could have been eating all those buffaloes instead of piling them into big piles. So
That was eloquent.
that
Sorry.
is the same thing that happens in media. It's the same thing that's happening in digital. It's like everything was open. You could do whatever the fuck you want. And so you do it and you make as much money as you can. You monetize it every which way you can figure out. And you try some ways that just don't work. And then some ways work so good that you're like, think you're a genius, but it turns out it's way too good. And then you realize, oh crap, we're making money off a bunch of pedophiles or whatever. And then, am I too close right now?
Sometimes.
You're getting excited.
You're just getting excited.
It's all right.
You were AMSIing your beard earlier, or
ASMR.
Yeah, ASMRing. Anyway,
Watch out for the pile of
I don't know
buffaloes,
where I
kids.
was at, but the bottom line is this: is that of course this is happening, and yeah, I mean, privacy is to us, is to today's generation what nuclear threat was in the 50s, to what Hitler was in the. I mean, there's well, Hitler's probably not a but
You heard it here first,
World
folks.
War II was, the global imperialism and
Right.
all that happening back then. But yes, technology is going to play a major role in the next dips of, whether it's a complete downfall of society, like some people are saying, or just a little, valley that we all have to get through. But technology is going to play a part of that. But that's why it's so important to understand how laws are made and be a voice in who you elect and what they know and what they do not know, because it's a new world out there. And I think, and I don't want this to sound political at all, but there is a lot of younger people being elected into Congress, and not so much on the Senate side, but on the congressional side. And God bless it. I mean, half of them I wouldn't even say I share a ton of policy, sort of ideals with, but I'm just glad they understand what the world is today, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a different world, but it's the same principles. It's no different than going and killing all the buffaloes and overgrazing. You can go back to the Egyptians, and they did shit that, you're like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Well, it's being, it's being a good steward of that stuff, right?
Yeah,
some of it you don't know until
in
you know.
hindsight, it's really easy to say, yeah, that's really poorly. Somebody should have thought of the fact that a pedophile can look up 20 kids in their immediate vicinity. But you don't
When
think
you're not
of
a
it till you don't think of
pedophile,
it.
you
Right,
don't think about stuff like that.
exactly.
That's true.
Well, and how many of these apps are just complete startups? I mean, literally,
Yeah.
like
we've
18
met them.
to
We've
12
had them pitch. Yeah, and it's like, you're like, you do what? And people, how you making money? And
We
you're
sell
like,
ads, sir.
whoa.
But
You know what I
that's
mean?
not something you think about when you're starting that app
Of
up.
course not.
No. So, but that as things get bigger, and that I think the conversation's a great conversation to have. And there obviously are adjustments that you have to make to be a good steward of the technology.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got a theory for everyone, real quick. So here's my theory. So years ago, I think it was in Esquire magazine. It was either in GQ or Esquire. There was an article. I'm pretty sure it was Esquire that basically said that the downfall of American innovation could be directly traced to the downfall of the 2-martini lunch, and that guys, and back then it was mostly men, would go out and sit in a restaurant, have a couple belts at lunchtime, and they'd start talking about shit, and they'd lose a little bit of their inhibitions. You stop worrying about looking stupid, and shit was brainstormed.
Yeah.
And their basic premise was that, the microwave, never gonna happen without a 2-martini lunch. And so that ever
Going
since
to the moon?
So ever since it became sort of, not politically correct to drink at lunch, that, American
What
innovation
industry are you
has
in?
gone down.
Yeah.
So, well, here's the thing. I think, this is my personal theory, that this millennial generation growing up with access to free weed is going to recapture that
legal?
same legal.
Okay, I was
free.
like-
I'm sorry. I said
not
free.
free, so do
No,
I.
it's not free.
They live
Legal weed. Did I say free
You
weed?
did say free.
All of us
Freudian slip. My personal favorite is Willie's Reserve.
You get it for free too, apparently?
No, I'm just saying that if a little shout out to Willie Nelson, if he wants to send me some free weed, I'd be happy to give him a post office box located in Oregon
Yes.
to do that. Willie's Reserve.
Brought to you by.
Willie's Reserve. Anyway, legal weed. I believe that THC has similar effects as alcohol, as far as just opening up your kind of mind and letting, lowering some inhibitions, those sorts of things, without some of the more damaging aspects of it. And I think this millennial generation is kind of getting accustomed to sort of, mixing it in to their lives where they see fit. And I think there's going to be a lot of innovation that comes from that.
A boom.
And
of
I sound like a total like drug proponent right now, but that's just my prediction.
Yeah.
Unless shit goes off the rails because of legal weed and politics changes
of course.
very rapidly in the
Yeah.
other direction, which could happen because we had
but we
had abolition
yes, that's-
abolition
I
in
know
this
what
country
yeah.
earlier. So shit happens.
Shit happens.
Or prohibition.
Bad idea.
Abolition was a good thing. Prohibition was a bad thing.
Exactly. Just to clarify. Just to clarify.
Yikes.
Jesus, did I call it abolition? Prohibition.
Listen, you're
Shit.
done with the Willie's Reserve.
Right?
Yes. Okay, I'm out. I'm going to take a nap.
Things didn't go as off the rails as Joe Rogan's podcast this week when Alex Jones was on there.
Oh, I didn't
Oh man, 5 hours.
What?
5 hours of live Alex Jones, and I loved every minute of it because he's
5
fucking crazy.
Hours.
Yeah.
They didn't take a little potty break at all,
Oh, they took a few.
did they?
Yeah, live stream, man.
Man.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Pun fully intended.
Live
Do you know this podcast?
stream.
Like,
Yeah, we're very pun friendly.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that kind of wraps it up for today. Any final thoughts?
exhausted.
Final thoughts.
I kind of blacked out.
Oh,
Oh,
turn
look,
that
there's his
off.
phone.
Oh,
Everybody
shit.
drinks.
There's the copy strike.
Is that a?
You answered.
Everybody
I
drinks.
accidentally answered. Shit. I'm sure it was just a somebody telling me the extended warranty on my truck. I no longer.
Are you looking for new insurance? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's like 90% of the
I can't
phone
believe you
calls
just
I get.
answered that too.
I
You
I
panicked.
do that. I
Live
did
on
panic
the
a little
air.
bit.
My truck's warranty. It's about to expire.
A number's
don't own a
calling
truck.
me.
I think I caught the ringer before there were the acquired number of notes.
Just kidding.
Now you're getting a call?
I'm getting a call too.
Weird. How come I can't hear it? Because yours is on
Silent.
silent.
There's
Weird.
a thing on the side of the phone for that.
There is? Yeah. Even on the
My
iPhones?
facial recognition doesn't work with headphones on.
Okay. Well, I don't have that phone.
Maybe
Whatever.
it's that amazing
This is not
beard you're
interesting.
growing.
Wow, riveting content, guys.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much concludes AdSquawk
It does.
That was
for
LOL.
today.
You only have to leave one.
I'm only scrolling through like
One number.
One
four
number.
run sheets.
several.
'cause I accidentally deleted it.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for joining us on this week's episode of AdSquawk. Be sure to follow us on the socials at AdSquawkPod and chirp at us using hashtag AdSquawk.
Let us know how it is.
Yeah, we want feedback. We want to hear what you guys want to hear, and we will do our best to cater some of that content to you. So yeah, until next time, peeps.
Squawk. Deuces.